I started off in contemporary Christian music because in Scotland, where I was born, we had no contemporary Christian music. And I remember going to my very first concert when American artists came over, and it was Jamie Owens and Second Chapter of Acts. And I remember I was probably 14 or 15, and I was so blown away by hearing people my age or a little older than me but sing songs about Jesus, who I loved. And so that became a kind of passion of mine to start writing Christian music and literally being one of a very few artists in Britain. And then Billy Ray Hearn, who was head of Sparrow Records, was over in London at one point and invited me to come to America and open for one of his artists, a guy called Phil Keaggy.
Oh, yes.
The amazing Phil Keaggy, brilliant guitarist, singer-songwriter. But then after I'd been here in America for a while doing contemporary Christian music, I was invited by Pat Robertson to come and join him on the 700 Club, which was a very different thing for me. It was very clear in the first program that I was not the Scottish Barbara Walters, but I really did feel a calling, and I loved. There's something about television. Some people are, like you, Bob, are brilliant at what you do in radio. You just have a gift for that. I love television. You know, when I look into the camera, I see like one person who needs to know that Jesus loves them.
So how is it, and you spent how long as the co-host?
I was a co-host of the 700 Club for 5 years. Then I went back to seminary. I'd done my undergraduate degree in London, and I went back to Fuller Seminary to do my graduate degree. And after that, I joined something called Women of Faith.
Okay, sure.
We toured for 20 years, filling up arenas, which was amazing. And it was during that time my husband and I got married, and we had our son, Christian. And then I went from that to work with James Robeson for 5 years actually 6 years on Life Outreach International. And so television has always been part of my story as well. But then maybe just a year and a half ago, Matt and Laurie Crouch from Trinity Broadcasting approached both Barry and I and asked us if we would come and join their team taking the good news of the gospel around the world.
Sheila Walsh joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. It is the 2024 National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville. And so you are known for your work with Trinity Broadcasting. You have a number of special programs that you've done. You are from time to time seen on the, I guess you might say, the primetime evening show on TBN called Praise. And I think people that are familiar, I think with TBN as well as just Christian television in general, recognize the changes that have taken place in Christian television. Not only do you have the broadcasting element, but you have the streaming element, you have the on-demand, you have the apps. And people that watch TBN, say, over the last few years have seen the difference, the increase in, as I perceive it, original programming, such as the program you and I had the opportunity to talk about a while back with your first trip to Israel. Is that perception, just from an insider standpoint, is that what you're observing from the inside? Please tell me that's
no, absolutely,
that's
Bob. That is absolutely accurate. And I think that there's one of the things that Matt Crouch said to Barry and I when he first hired us was, whatever God has put on your heart, that's what we want you to do. And I want to tell God's stories from around the world. That was why I loved going to Israel. It was my first time. I'd never been to Israel before. And walking in the footsteps of where Jesus went, but doing it with my Bible in my hand and being able to sit down on the mountain where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, to stand on the Mount of Olives where Christ will return. It just brought everything so much to life. But I've also been able to do things like going into prisons. The gentleman who's in charge of Mississippi prisons is an amazing, godly man. And he set up a system now for men who are lifers, many are in for murder, who are being able to do their theological degrees in prison, and then they become missionaries within their own prisons. So that's my passion, to share God's stories from around the world.